Hunger is our body's natural response when we don't eat. But what if this feeling lasted for 6 months? In the 1940s, a study at the University of Minnesota put a group of healthy men through this tough experiment. Interestingly, the hardest part of the study wasn't the starvation period, but the refeeding process afterward. Even more striking was how the subjects' mental states were affected. During the experiment, their thoughts became completely focused on food. So much so that they couldn't think about anything else. Some even lost their minds. One volunteer harmed himself because he couldn't stand the hunger anymore. All of this was done to help the millions of people starving due to the war. So what exactly happened during this sad experiment? In the middle of World War II, as people in Europe were starving, the US military wanted to find the most effective way to feed them. For this purpose, they came up with an idea. Let's starve a group of people so we can figure out how best to feed everyone else. At that time, there was little scientific data on how to treat severe malnutrition. So, Ansel Keys and his team proposed a bold human experiment. Expose volunteers to long-term starvation and then refeed them. Keys' first need was participants. So how do you convince people to join an experiment where they'll be starving for a long time? Surprisingly, the solution was as simple as distributing brochures that read, "Will you starve so others can be better fed?" This call especially resonated with conscientious objectors, men who refused to participate in the war. For them, this was a way to contribute to their country without carrying weapons. In the end, 36 healthy men were chosen from among the conscientious objectors for the experiment. The study consisted of 5 phases, each lasting 12 weeks. In the first phase, the 36 men ate normally for 3 months. This period established a baseline for their normal physical and mental state. They were all given the same foods, but adjusted to their body's needs. During this period, researchers measured every aspect of their bodies, such as weight, height, stomach size, eye sharpness, hand-eye coordination, bone density, and lung capacity. Urine, stool, sperm, and bone marrow samples were also taken. Their normal moods and personalities were also noted. The first 3 months passed easily as they continued their normal lives, but the same couldn't be said for the next 6 months. On February 12, 1945, the truly challenging part of the experiment began, the semi-starvation phase. Now they were offered only 3 menu options. Meals were also reduced to 2 per day. The menus were served in rotation and always followed the same cycle. The menus were monotonous, reminiscent of famine periods in Central Europe, consisting of whole wheat bread, potatoes, grain turnips, cabbage, and small amounts of dairy and meat. During this time, their calorie intake was cut by about half. The goal was to simulate wartime scarcity. However, participants could continue their normal jobs and activities as long as it didn't interfere with the experiment. In the first week, participants found the energy to continue their daily tasks. But over time, even the simplest tasks became difficult. It became impossible to climb a flight of stairs without resting. They couldn't sit comfortably, so they had to carry pillows everywhere. In addition to physical difficulties, they had to walk about 35 kilometers and run on a treadmill for half an hour each week, and these conditions pushed them to the brink of exhaustion. All they wanted was to lie in the sun and wait for the 6 months to end. Participant Jay Garner said, "We would go to cafes, order only coffee, and watch other people eat. It really bothered us when people left their plates unfinished," he explained. They tried various ways to cope with hunger, but their thoughts always revolved around food. One volunteer started collecting cookbooks. Their obsession with food even overshadowed their interest in women. Although some maintained their relationships, most lost interest in women. Those who flirted were actually competing to see who could flirt longer. When they went to the cinema, comedy scenes didn't seem funny, and love scenes were boring. Can you guess which scenes interested them the most? The parts where people were eating. When it was time to eat, each of them had their own unique way of enjoying their food. Some ate quickly to avoid thinking, while others chewed each bite for a long time. The monotony of the meals didn't bother them. As long as there was food, everything tasted delicious. One volunteer said, "Even the dirty breadcrumbs on the street looked appealing. We envied the fat pigeons eating them." About 2 months into the experiment, the mental effects began to show. Some men started to lose control. One stole potatoes, carrots, and onions from a market and ate them, filling his stomach with the vegetables that formed the basis of their diet. Another, returning from a 35-kilometer walk downtown, stopped at an ice cream parlor and ordered ice cream. Once he started eating, he couldn't stop, and he kept stopping at ice cream parlors and ordering more until he reached the laboratory. Finally, when he arrived at the laboratory, he confessed that he had broken his diet. These incidents showed that the participants' ability to think rationally was weakening. As a result, these individuals were either removed from the experiment or excluded from the results because they cheated and did not lose weight as planned. After these incidents, staff did not allow volunteers to walk alone. They had to walk in pairs or with an attendant to keep an eye on each other. When the starvation phase of the experiment ended on July 29, 1945, the participants were eager to return to eating as before, but the 3-month rehabilitation period would be much more painful for them. For most, this was the most psychologically difficult stage. Their calorie intake was increased very slightly, which caused them great disappointment. Instead of gaining weight initially, their bodies continued to lose weight as they slowly recovered. This led to deep despair and confusion in some. As a result, one of the participants did something that, even 15 years later, he couldn't explain why he did it. Sam Legg and a friend from the experiment went to dinner one evening during rehabilitation. They had their measured meals from the laboratory and were sitting by the fireplace. When the fire died down, Sam suddenly got up. He said he knew where the wood was and that there was an axe outside. He stated that he would chop some wood to add to the fire. At that time, Sam, who was only in the 3rd week of rehabilitation and weighed only 51 kilograms, could barely lift the axe. Then, for an unknown reason, he brought the axe down on his left hand and cut off 3 of his fingers. Years later, he admitted, "I confess that I was very confused at the time." Scientists described this as a severe case of starvation neurosis. Sam, who was immediately taken to the hospital, remembered the shock on the faces of the young hospital staff. The staff thought he had eaten his fingers, but Sam had buried them in a backyard in Minneapolis. The experiment reports stated that Sam resorted to a desperate measure to end this ordeal, but was also worried about the possibility of the study failing. Sam returned to the laboratory with his stitched hand and completed the experiment. Now we come to the final part. The men were finally allowed to eat whatever they wanted. They ate so much that they got sick. This phenomenon was similar to what was observed in concentration camp survivors. Despite reaching the end, after 3 months of rehabilitation, the men gained weight so slowly that they still hadn't reached a healthy weight by the end of the experiment. The war ended unexpectedly early. The whole purpose of the experiment was to serve the millions of war victims. As Japan's surrender was announced, the men in the experiment were busy eating. The only thing that mattered was food. As long as we were eating, we didn't care if the war ended or not. Germany surrendered in May and Japan in August. So, months before the experiment's end date. The US military was eager for Dr. Keyes' answers, but Dr. Keyes could only give them temporary answers, telling them what they had learned up to that point. In the end, the fight against hunger in the post-war world was largely carried out without using the findings of the Minnesota starvation experiment. Moreover, since the subjects were conscientious objectors, the US government never paid them. And because they were not soldiers, they were not eligible for veteran benefits. These men fought their own battles in their own way. They served their country and sacrificed themselves in doing so. In their own way, these men were wounded in the war, and their contributions should be properly valued. The impact of the study only became clear years later, because it took another 5 years for the study to finally be published. Due to its extreme detail and ambiguity, this research had become a classic. In summary, the experiment revealed that individuals who have been starving for a long time need a raw calorie intake of up to 4,000 per day. Now ask yourself, was the knowledge gained from the experiment worth the extreme psychological distress the participants endured? If you were given the chance, would you do the same? There have been many experiments in the past that pushed people to their limits. One of them is the Randy Gardner sleeplessness experiment. It all started in San Diego in 1964. A high school student named Randy Gardner decided to do something unique for a science fair project. With 2 friends, they decided to test how long the human body could go without sleep. But this wasn't going to be an ordinary experiment. Randy wouldn't just go without sleep for a few hours. He would stay awake for days without closing his eyes. The first few days, as you might expect, were quite simple. Randy, with the help of his friends, played games, went for walks, and was constantly kept busy to stay awake. The first effects of sleeplessness began after the second day. Now, even simple tasks became difficult. His concentration was breaking down, and he was starting to have memory problems. But they were still only at the beginning. By the 4th and 5th days, things started to get serious. Randy's ability to speak was impaired, and he couldn't finish his sentences. His eyelids felt heavy, and his head kept dropping. Staying awake had become a physical struggle. But Randy wasn't giving up. This experiment was no longer just a science project. It had become a challenge for him. As the experiment progressed, the media and the scientific community began to show great interest in the event. Dr. William Dement, a sleep researcher from Stanford University, decided to closely monitor Randy's condition. Dr. Dement observed how Randy's body and mind reacted to this situation. This experiment was no longer just about Randy and his friends, but had become an event that the whole world was watching. The experiment reached its 9th day. The limits of human mental endurance had been reached. Randy could no longer tell the difference between reality and imagination. Hallucinations had begun. The faces of people entering the room were changing shape, and the walls seemed to move. His mind was playing tricks on him. He was starting to lose touch with the real world. At this point, serious questions began to be raised about how safe it was to continue the experiment. The last few days turned into a complete nightmare. Randy was now struggling to speak, giving nonsensical answers to questions. His memory loss was so severe that he couldn't even remember things he had said just a few minutes before. But still, despite all these difficulties, he reached the 11th day. At the end of 11 days, Randy was finally ready to drift off to sleep. After this 264-hour experiment, his body and mind were completely exhausted. But this was a turning point not only for him, but also for the scientific world. This experiment went down in history for showing the limits of the human body's and mind's endurance. Randy Gardner set a record by staying awake for 11 days. However, his health was severely damaged during this process. After the experiment, Randy had to recover for a long time. Scientists studied the results of this experiment for years and made great strides in understanding the effects of sleep deprivation on humans. However, this experiment also showed how far limits can be pushed and how fragile the human mind is. The human mind and body are truly incredible, but this experiment showed us once again how vital sleep is. When we sleep at night, our body doesn't just rest, our mind also rebuilds itself. Sleep is an indispensable part of a healthy life, and we should never forget this fact.